Good evening and welcome to the Speak Easy podcast. Here at the Speak Easy, we provide a comfort and safety zone for individuals like yourself to come and share and talk and down wind down if you need to. We provide resources and education on a plethora of topics on spirituality, health and awareness, relationships. And tonight, I am pleased to introduce to you Michele D. Clark, Lmsw, mental health advocate. And she's going to come tonight and share with us why she's a mental health advocate. And we're just going to talk about mental illness and mental health awareness. So, good evening, Michele. How are you?
I am doing super fantastic. And I'm going to tell you, Constance, if I did any better, it would probably be illegal in 3 states.
Okay. That's all right. Only three. Okay.
Only three. That's all, just
Yeah.
three. The
Three's a
rest
good
I'm going to
number.
go through.
Okay. Yeah. Three's a good number. Yeah. Yeah. So, Michele, let's tell the listening audience who you are
Sure.
and why you are a mental health advocate.
Yes, yes, yes. And that's a real big question. So I'm really excited to be able to answer that. So first and foremost, everybody, hey. My name is Michele D. Clark. And, I'm really just a small town girl with big time dreams. And God has just showed his grace and mercy. He has brought me through some really trying times and life threatening situations. And I'm originally from Harvey, Illinois. Most folks don't even know where that is.
I
It's
do.
like
Been
South
there.
Side. You know where it's at?
Oh, I've been there. I've got family there. Yes.
Oh, whoop, whoop, yay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, outside of folks who have family there, it's like a South Side suburb of Chicago. And, you really don't have to be, I don't know, a reporter on America's Most Wanted to know how Chicago got its nickname Chirac. You know, a lot of people there were stealing, killing, thugging, drugging, and selling dope. Well, I didn't want to do that, Constance. I became a hope dealer,
Okay.
hope dealer. And so the thing is that I decided to do that. So I got my bachelor's in psychology. I got my master's in social work. I actually got my PhD from the School of Hard Knocks because I've been through some things. But because of that, Constance, that's what helped me to shift things around and make it my mission to be the Harriet Tubman of authenticity. So I'm able to empower women to like break the chains of stereotypes and shatter glass ceilings and shed the baggage of past bad decisions and bad mistakes. And the reason why, Constance, if I can, I want to tell you a little bit of a story to answer the question of why I became that advocate.
Okay.
So when I was 14 years old, I thought I was invincible, as most people do at 14, until I was raped by a 19-year-old. And when I was raped by that 19-year-old, and it was a friend of a friend, it wasn't some person jumping out of the bushes, somebody that I knew. When he raped me, not only did he steal my virginity, but he also stole my self identity. And Constance, at that point, I lost who I was. I felt dirty and disgusting and vile. I didn't feel like I was lovable. I felt like just something to use up and throw out. Because in my mind, I always was going to wear white for real, down the aisleway. And so when that was shattered, it just shook me. Put it like that, it shook me. And so I knew that's not where I wanted to be. So I had to do something. I had to find myself. And so I had to put in the work, Constance. And that included getting therapy. That included my educational background, learning more about the pathways of some of the things that was off about me while I was going down this negative rabbit hole of negative self-degradation, my thought process. But I put in the work and it was hard. It was really, really hard, but it was worth it because it allowed me to get back to who I really am and who God has purpose for me to be. And that's really what we have to do in order to live our truth and be authentic is to put in that work, find out who we are, find out what those things are that's keeping us from doing that, and just plow through it. So that's really it in a nutshell as to how I became that advocate, because of what happened to me when I was 14 years old that shifted my whole paradigm and made me think about myself differently. So I had to get rid of my stinking thinking and turn things around. I call it BS, our belief systems. So I help people with the belief systems. That's why I'm such a huge advocate, because so many of us, Constance, are lost because of the traumas and the trials and the tribulations that we've experienced that has made us lose our way. And so I call myself that beacon of light and that Harriet Tubman, to try to help free people from their own minds.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. Wow.
Thank you.
As I was listening to you talk, and you were saying that this person robbed you
Yes.
of that dream of
Yes.
walking down the aisle in white, for real, for real. Let's talk about that for a minute, because
Sure.
many times things that are instilled or have been instilled in us growing up, and these things are carved in our hearts
Mm-hmm.
and in our minds. And this is something that we aspire for. And when that doesn't happen, it can be very degrading, and it can be very destructive
Yes.
to your inner self and your inner being. I'm sorry. So let's talk about that. You said you got the help, you did the work, and you went through the counseling. And I want the audience to understand that these things happen, that you can get the help. Help is available, and the help is effective. But it
Yes.
doesn't happen overnight. And I'm sure you can attest to that. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So in addition to, because I said, I got my bachelor's in psychology and master's in social work, so I am a licensed therapist. So I'm a licensed therapist, and I'm also a life coach. And so with that, it's so, let's first of all, let's take a couple of steps back. A lot of times our people do not get assistance because it's almost like a taboo. It's like, child, ain't nothing wrong with you. You ain't depressed. Just get up out the bed. Just pull
Mm.
yourself up by your bootstraps. Ain't nothing wrong. Oh, you talking about you're tired, you're this, you're that. It is real. Diagnoses are real. And not specifically the diagnosis itself, but the symptoms that go along with it. See, we have diagnosis just so that professionals have a way to talk about it. So if somebody says you have depression or anxiety or OCD or those types of things, as a professional, we know what some of those symptoms are that falls under those categories. So it gives us a conversation, a lingo, a language. But on the flip side, the person experiencing those symptoms, they are real to that person. Let me put it that way. They're real to that person, and sometimes, many times, it's real because there may be a chemical imbalance that needs to be rectified. Now, some people believe in medications, some people believe in talk therapy, some people believe in a holistic approach. I'm not here to preach on any of those. I'm just here to say get in where you fit in. But the key is to get in when you recognize that there is a challenge in your life. So, what we talk about is you need to identify what some of those symptoms are. So, what are those symptoms that you're experiencing? And if you're experiencing on a mild level, because what people don't realize is that it's something that's called AMIs, any mental illness. And
Mm.
so any mental illness, which was, I believe NAMI was the one, the National Association of Mental Illness, were the ones who came up with AMIs, or at least they're the ones that advocate for it. And with that, AMIs are either mild, moderate, or severe. And so if you're experiencing something that's in the milder category, it may go unnoticed. And I say that's okay, meaning that it's not impacting any of your life situations. If you're finding that it is impacting your life situations, that's when you really want to get that assistance that you deserve and that you need. And so if you find yourself feeling tired, low energy, irritable, angry, sad, anxious, nervous, on edge, having sleep disturbances, problems with your appetite, if you're having any of those types of symptoms and beyond, Sometimes it may be on the more severe spectrum. You may be hearing voices, seeing things that nobody else is able to hear or see. You may have something that's called anhedonia, which is where you used to like to do things and now you don't like to do those things anymore. You may find yourself um, having tactile hallucinations where you're feeling things. So it can be any of those ranges of challenges that you're experiencing. And the telltale sign is if it's disrupting something in your life, you're having problems with concentrating and focusing. You can't complete tasks. When someone's talking to you, you're somewhere else all the time, or you're in a room full of people and everybody else is having a good time and you're finding yourself feeling alone, even when you're not alone. When you have these types of things that's disrupting different avenues of your life, your work life, your play life, your sex life, just being by yourself life, if you're finding that you're having disruptions in those areas, that's when you say to yourself, you know what? I think I need to get some assistance. And I just want to make a quick correction. It's National Alliance on Mental Illness. So
Okay.
sorry about that. I recognize when I was going down the line, I said, it's not association, it's alliance. So, but the thing, Constance, is that
Alliance on Mental Illness.
Okay. Yep, National Alliance on Mental Illness. Yep. So
I recognize when I was going down the line, I said, it's not association, so.
yep.
Okay.
I was like, hold on, let me stop the tape, y'all. So, but just to get back to that, so I just want to really impress upon people that when you experience those types of challenges that's disruptive to your progress, you really need to take a pause. It's just like if you're finding yourself having any kind of physiological issues, we go to the doctor, don't we?
Exactly.
We go to the
Exactly.
doctor. I got this cough I can't get rid of, or my stomach is always upset. I can't keep anything down, or when I move my arm like this, it hurts. We run to the doctor. We get an adjustment, if you will. And we're even told every year you need to get your annual physical, get your annual exam. Why don't we have at least annual psychiatric evaluations, or at least a check in with someone who is in the mental health arena? Because our minds are the ones that controls everything else. So if
Yes.
nothing else, we should just go just to have a wellness check. It doesn't even have to be an unwellness check, because sometimes I don't call it mental illness. I may call it mental unwellness, just to try to remove some of the stigma from people getting the assistance that we need. And just to be very transparent with everybody here, I still have a therapist. Matter of fact, y'all, I just met with my therapist before we got on today. So, because as a clinician, and I'm telling you, if your therapist doesn't have a therapist, if your life coach doesn't have a life coach, run. Because if they don't believe in what they practice, what are they doing?
Okay.
What
Okay.
are they
I'm glad
doing?
you said that. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you. Come on.
Hello, come on, somebody.
Hmm.
I believe in what I do. I believe in who I am, and I believe in whose I am. So when we talk about getting counseling, it doesn't have to be from a counselor per se. You may find guidance from somebody spiritual in your church. You may find guidance from an elder in your family. And you may find guidance from a mental health professional. But my point is, get the guidance. Just get the guidance, because there are people who know more than you do. I actually was meeting with a client not that long ago, and when we were talking, it re-brought up the subject matter of Johari window. So Johari window is, there's different facets. So there's things that we know about ourselves that others know about us. There's things that we know about ourselves that people don't know about us. And there's things that others know about us that we don't see. And then there's that hidden part where we don't know it about ourselves and others also don't know it about ourselves. So in those two windows of hidden and blind spot, those are the things where we need assistance and we need guidance. People get financial guidance, they get spiritual guidance, but they don't get mental health guidance. And so I really am an advocate, going back to that advocacy. I'm really an advocate because people need to understand that we are a whole being. There's so many facets that makes up who we are. And we have to get adjustments in each one of those areas in order to remain in alignment. Let me make this quick comparison. I learned some years back that spaceships are offline, they're out of alignment more than 93% of the time. So people are like, okay, well, how do they make it to the moon? How do they make it to where they're going? Because they make these micro adjustments along the way. That's how they get there. We are no different. We need micro adjustments and sometimes macro adjustments, but we at the minimum need micro adjustments to help us to reach our goals. We are no different. That's my story of sticking with it.
And I thank you for saying that. And you said two things. I listened to you talk. You mentioned the role of the church, kind of touched on it a little bit. And when you're talking about the micro adjustments and maybe sometimes a macro adjustment, I think the struggle is within a lot of individuals, is, and especially our younger generation, it's more trying to strive for excellence.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry, perfection,
Mm.
and not the excellence. When I think we should encourage them to be their best, and that goes for anybody and for ourselves too. Strive for the excellence,
Yes.
not the perfection. Because God is the only one that's perfect.
Come on.
And he requires us to do our best.
That's it.
Okay, so that means forget the perfection. Just strive for the excellence.
That's it.
And I think that causes problems a lot of times, is that not understanding the difference between the two. And then you said, seeking the guidance, and you mentioned the church. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable to seek guidance in the church because, one, the church is uncomfortable in giving the guidance because there's a stigma there.
Yes.
You can't be spiritual and mentally ill at the same time. I've heard some pastors say, well, oh, you see somebody getting super religious, they're getting ready to have a nervous break. And maybe so. But why is that? That's because they are rooted and grounded into spirituality. And now their system is off balance for whatever reason. And they are battling with that spirituality that they have been raised with and what's instilled in them. So how do we educate our church community, our communities, our families? How can we educate them to help to remove or to reduce, because I'll settle for reduce right now.
Yes.
The stigma against mental illness.
Absolutely. First of all, and thank you so much for that question. That is such a monumental question that needs to be answered. And the answer is doing things just like we're doing right now, Constance. You have an excellent platform that is helping us chip away at the stigma. So having podcasts just as yours, Constance, having talks, having town hall meetings, having at 8 different agencies, because I also work at a mental health community within my community, an agency for people who are disadvantaged, people who are social economically disadvantaged. I work in that community as well. I work on a online platform where I'm able to touch people all over the world with who may have some mental unwellness. And so being able to at those different organizations, for us to have a forum, if you will, that welcomes the community in to educate the community. And if it's not us going to the community itself, having the community to come to us, vice versa. So being able to have pockets of like grassroots initiative, if you will, where we're talking about things like this, where we're having and I don't want to go too much into the resources just yet, but having different, where we're able to guide people to different resources where they feel more comfortable, because they may not feel comfortable talking to a therapist, but they may feel comfortable listening to a podcast. They may feel comfortable watching something on YouTube. They may feel comfortable watching something on, girl, I'm about to say something old school, I'm about to say TiVo. I don't even know if that's around anymore.
I think it is, but go ahead.
but watching something where they may not have to be an active participant and they don't have to be seen, because sometimes people don't want to show up to a town hall meeting because, well, if I show up there, then they might think I have a mental illness. Well, what's wrong with that? Well, you have to meet people where they are. So in order to meet people where they are, we have to have venues and medium to meet those people where they are. So that's one of the ways that we can break it down. And when we're talking about in the church, I know in my church in particular, I had a 8-week series at my church where we were talking about sexual abuse, sexual assault, and trauma. And so we had an 8-week series, which was based off of my book, Hush, Breaking the Cycle of Silence Around Sexual Abuse. And for mine, it was sexual assault. But I did have some other situations that happened that is discussed within the book. And we went through, it's an anthology. And each week, we invited the person of that chapter to come out and we had a community talk. So that was another way of breaking those barriers. And it wasn't recorded because we wanted people to be able to share openly without having to worry about where it's going to show up. And so having those types of initiatives are the way that we can chip away at it. And we also have to look at it, when we talk about on the macro level, we have to look at some mental health reform, if you will, because a lot of the help that was out there is being chiseled away in terms of funding from our government. And I'm not talking about any specific, I'm not talking about Republican, Democrat, I'm not talking about any of that. It doesn't matter who's in office. It just matters what we do, because a lot of times I say, oh, well, the Republicans this, oh, the Democrats that, oh, the independents this. Listen, we the people, that's what it starts out with, right? We the people.
Right.
So we the people are the government, and we have to remember that. So if there is something that is not on the agenda that you want to see on the agenda, don't complain with it about your coworkers. Don't talk with it about your mama. Don't talk with it about your brother, sister, cousin, Ray, Craig, and them down the street. That's not going to make any changes. We need to talk to the people who we have empowered. Because we say, oh, the people who have the power. No. We empowered them. We voted. And if you didn't vote, you still voted. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't vote, you still voted by not voting, because you allow somebody else to cast a vote for you. So we are the ones who empower those people to make the rules and regulations and changes that are impacting our lives. So get on that phone and call your senator. Get on the phone and call that congressman, woman, whoever, the person on the board in your city or your town. Go to those meetings. Let the agendas be heard that's important to you. I just had somebody knock on my door, Constance, the other day, and they were asking me, what are some things that, for the election coming up, what are some things that's important to you? So we have people, grassroots, who are going around and asking those types of things, the questions. And as social workers, that's what we do. We work socially. So it is up to us and other lay people to make it important that we need to have these kind of discussions to break down the stigmas that, and I don't want to say it's okay to not be okay. It's only okay to not be okay for a moment.
Exactly.
But if that's chronically your life, it's not okay. It's okay to know that you're not okay. And then the next step is to identify what those unalignments or inalignments are, and then get help for it, take action. So that's what we need to do. And if you see your brother, your sister, and I'm talking about in Christ or whatever, or when I say in Christ, I mean just, are meaning not blood wise. So let me just say that. When we see someone struggling, don't talk about them. Don't just give them a sympathetic ear or empathetic ear. Send them some resources. Help them out. Ask permission, because listen, I've been guilty of just going ahead and, oh, child, you might need this. Back up. Ask permission first, because you don't want to offend someone. Ask permission first. Is it okay if I give you this resource? Or when you said such and such, this is how it impacted me. Let me tell you what I did. So if you happen to feel that way, you can do this too. And that's actually what I did in the book. In my chapter, Behind Closed Doors, I actually give some resources, if you will, about the things that I did. When I said I put in the work, I put it in the book of what work I did. I put in 5 key things that I did to get through, not over, but get through the traumas and tragedies, because I had what we call complex traumas, meaning multiple traumas that's happened to me throughout my life. And I put that in the book. So we have to make sure that we are getting the resources in people's hands and
So
making it available and accessible. Yeah.
I need to get the title of that book. So I'm going to share this with the listening audience. So it's called Hush.
Yes. Hush, breaking the cycle of silence around sexual abuse. And this is what
The
it was.
cycle of silence around sexual abuse. And okay, great.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
going to
Yep.
put that out there for the listening audience. So this is a great resource. Please go and look for this book. It's probably on Amazon and at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll tell you where you can get it. You can go straight to my website, micheledclark.com. So Michele, one L, you don't need two. Michele, the middle initial D, Clark.com. Yep, micheledclark.com. And as a matter of fact, I would love to give you a free gift as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So you go onto my website and go onto micheledclark.com. One, you can find the book there, but also if you go to the contact section on there and you put in your information and put in the keyword speakeasy, put speakeasy in there, and you will get a 20-minute free consultation and exploration. I like to call it conversation exploration with yours truly, Michele D. Clark.
Okay, great. So I'm putting all that out in the comments for the listening audience. Guys, take advantage of this.
Yes.
Take
And you know what?
advantage of this.
I'm feeling generous today.
Uh-oh.
So what I will also do is I will, of the people who do put in their contact information, what I'll do is it's something called Wheel of Names. So I'll put you guys on a wheel of names. It's just be for me. Nobody will see your names. And I will spin that wheel and I will pick one lucky winner and I will gift you a free book.
Oh, wow. Great. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Michele, for feeling generous today and for sharing. Thank you so much. Hey, Christmas in May. That's all right. You know, I spoke with someone last week, because we've been talking about mental health awareness all month here at the Speakeasy. Yeah. And they made a statement, it's okay not to be okay, but you just can't stay.
Boom. There it is.
Okay. And you know what? And people need to understand that you're not going to be 100% all of the time. You're not going to always be on your A game all of the time. You're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. Life happens.
That's right.
And so we have to empower ourselves and equip ourselves to be able to face these challenges and to overcome them. And sometimes we cannot do it alone. We need help. And it's okay to raise your hand and say, hey, I need help. Self-care is so important.
Yes, it is.
And people do not understand that when you are a vessel that's pouring into others, if you don't pour into yourself and nourish your inner spirit, you cannot fill somebody else's vessel.
That's right.
You can't. So it's important that we take care of our minds just like we do our bodies.
That's right. Yes, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Is real. It is, mental health is real. Mental illness is real.
Yes,
and mental illness is a diagnosis just like hypertension.
That's right.
And diabetes. You go and get treated for those. Go and seek treatment for mental illness. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And as I always say, my favorite saying is, we are all one step away from cray-cray.
I love that. There actually was a talk. It was one crisis from crazy.
Mm-hmm. And that's true.
And it's true. Yeah. I mean, look at the pandemic. What it has, how it has toppled people who never would have thought they would have been misaligned or But again, when a crisis arises, it sends us off balance. And so we have to seek that balance. And I put it in quotes because seeking balance is, again, like think about that spaceship that's off alignment at least 93% of the time. Mm-hmm. And it just goes through those micro adjustments. And that's what we need to keep in mind. That's what we need to do at the very minimum, those micro adjustments.
Wow. It's just life, and life challenges can be tough.
Yes.
It can, I mean, they can be tough. And, maybe the same incident may happen to you last week and it wouldn't even phase you.
Yes.
And then turn around 3 days later and it'll just make you snap and lose your mind.
100%.
Our minds are tender things,
Yes.
and there was a slogan one time about the mind being a terrible thing to waste.
Yes.
The mind is a tender thing, and we have to protect it. We have to protect it. We have to nourish it and support it. Because if
100%.
not, we could lose it. We really could. And so, my mother used to had a saying, just catch me the right, you're going to fool around and catch me the right way one day. And what she was saying to me, it's not going to be good for you when it does, when you do that.
Oh, trust me.
The same thing with
I got a similar mom, so I know.
Yeah. And so the same thing with mental illness. Everything can be smooth sailing. And something catches you the right way that day.
That's right. The right way on the wrong day.
And that's right. And then it is just a huge change and shift in the atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So, Michele.
Yes.
What advice or guidance do you have to provide to our listening audience today on getting help, seeking help, and recognizing when there's something wrong with ourselves and loved ones?
Yeah, and actually that was the recommendation when you said, first you were saying about getting help. The first step is recognizing that there is something misaligned. What's called misaligned. If there's something that's off about whatever's going on in your life, if you're having problems with coping with something, with managing with some symptoms, and so being able to recognize the symptoms. So looking back at Jahari's window, you may not be able to see the symptoms within yourself, but someone next to you. So if you keep hearing somebody say, girl, what's wrong with you? Or are you okay? Or you look down today. If you keep hearing people say that, we used to say, two folks who don't conspire can't tell the same lie. So if you keep hearing that, then that's a sign right there that must be something that's misaligned, because whatever it is that you're projecting outwards, it's showing what's happening on the inside of you, even if you can't recognize it.
Wow.
So there's people outside of you who are recognizing that. So if you're hearing those types of things, or if you're finding yourself getting into it with everybody, and you say to yourself, what's wrong with everybody? I didn't mean it like that. Well, everybody can't be the problem,
Exactly.
So if the common denominator is you, so it might be a you problem. Wow. So again, if you're hearing people outside of you saying different things about you that's not hitting you the way you see you, that means you may need to get an adjustment. If you are seeing it within yourself and you're saying, I don't know why it is, but when I wake up, I feel this uneasiness. I feel shaky, or I feel nervous for no reason, or my stomach is upset, or my mind is always racing, or my stomach, just something just doesn't feel right. And I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. Unalignment. So look for those unalignments in your life. And if you can't see it yourself, if other people are seeing it, take it, don't blow it off. Get an adjustment. So that would be something that I guess I would say would be that I would tell people in a nutshell to take with them, is that if you are seeing a misalignment in someone else, let them know. Don't talk about them, talk to them. If you can't talk to them, talk through them, meaning find somebody who they will listen to and talk to that person to have them to talk to them, or have them come together. Because sometimes you want to make it seem like, oh, you talking about me behind my back. But say, hey, listen, I see something's wrong with such and such. Can you come with me to talk to them and we can talk together about it or something? But find some sort of way to help that person, not hurt that person further, and further, I guess, build upon stigmas. So that's my thing.
Wow.
That's my strength to do it.
Wow. So Michele, tell the audience what things you have coming up over the next couple of months, because I know you're busy. You're on that speaker circuit and you got all kind of stuff going on, and you and I are going to be collaborating. And you just dropped something in my spirit about some town halls, so we're going to be collaborating on a project that I'm going to put together. So stay tuned. So what do you have coming up over the next couple of months?
Absolutely. So I myself and Miss Keishan E. Newton, we are starting a podcast as well, East Meets West, where we'll be talking about all things women. so,
Wow.
so
Okay.
yes. So that is on the horizon. I'm also a keynote speaker for the Global Speakers Network that's coming up in, I believe that's June 9th. It's coming
Yes.
up. And so we'll be talking about, because I'm also a caregiver. I have a special needs son. And I also was on the receiving end of caregiving because I'm a survivor of 2 strokes and cancer.
Wow.
So yes, so I've been cared for as well. So I'll be speaking in that circuit. I also will be interviewing people on the leadership team with the Leadership Experience Tour with Mr. Sean Fair. And so I will be interviewing some speakers for that tour, and that's coming up the first week in June. And so, in addition to that, Keishan and I will be having our very first, it's going to be our reveal for our company, BU LLC, where we are helping women to become their authentic selves. So we'll be having that at the end of August, and it'll be a virtual retreat. It's a reveal. And so we're really excited about that. And if you keep an eye on my website, micheledclark.com, we'll have some updates on there because you'll see BU retreats. So we'll be updating that as we get more information. So I'm super excited about that, and some more things to come on the horizons that I can't talk about at this current moment.
Oh, wow. So I put your
In a
website
good way.
out there again. I just put your website out there again, as well as the book. And I encourage you in the listening audience to check out Michele D. Clark. Do
Yeah,
not
and that's
turn
Michele with
a
one
deaf
L.
ear to that name. Go to her website, check her out, see what she's all about. I met Michele last year in September at LET in Michigan,
Whoop, whoop.
and we connected, and I just love what she represents and what she brings to the table. So, Michele, I want to thank you
Thank you so
for
much.
being a guest here at the Speakeasy.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you on your upcoming endeavors, and you and Keishan on your podcast. I can't wait to see that.
Absolutely. You know, I got to have you on as a guest. You know
Oh,
that.
now you know I'm coming because you didn't ask me. I was going to invite myself. But anyway,
Yeah, well, before we close out, I got to say one thing because I know some people they wait for me to say this, so I got to say this. So,
okay.
and I should have said this at the intro, but it's okay. My name is Michele D. Clark with Live Nation, where we're empowering women to live inspired, free, and transform.
All right, now go ahead, girl. Get that plug in right quick. That's okay.
Get the plug in. Gotta get the
Hey,
plug in.
get it in there. That's what we do here at the Speakeasy. So I want to thank all of our guests for tuning in to the Sunday evening wind down and wind down. Take care, guys. Have a good week. Talk to you soon. Good night.
Good night.
Well, I can't get it to end for some reason.
They don't want us to go.
No, they want to come back, I guess.